Hello, Ascenders. So why is it that almost everywhere you go, if you have any kind of issue and you have a friend who's into spirituality, they always ask you if you're meditating? And if you are that friend and you ask if they have been meditating, some people look at you as if meditation has become a 4-letter, or rather a 4-syllable word. Shun? 4 syllables. You get what I mean? If you aren't meditating, they suggest that you should begin or increase your meditation. But why should some people meditate? And do me a favor and listen to and hear these dates of the sources I'm using. This is not new news. It has been stated since time immemorial. There is nothing new under the sun. Well, mostly. Why meditate? In the Law of One, the raw material, the central theme is light and love. One method to attain them is through meditation. Here, Ra provides some spiritual exercises that are grounded in meditation, re-meditation channeling. Ra Contact Session 10.
10.14 Questioner. For general development of the reader of this book, could you state some of the practices or exercises to perform to produce an acceleration toward the Law of One?
Ra, I am Ra. Exercise 1. This is the most nearly centered and usable within your illusion complex. The moment contains love. That is the lesson goal of this illusion or density. The exercise is to consciously seek that love in awareness and understanding distortions. The first attempt is the cornerstone. Upon this choosing rests the remainder of the life experience of an entity. The second seeking of love within the moment begins the addition. The third seeking powers the second, the fourth powering or doubling the third. As with the previous type of empowerment, there will be some loss of power due to flaws within the seeking in the distortion of insincerity. However, the conscious statement of self to self of the desire to seek love is so central an act of will that, as before, the loss of power due to this friction is inconsequential. Exercise 2. The universe is one being. When a mind-body-spirit complex views another mind-body-spirit complex, see the creator. This is an helpful exercise. Exercise 3. Gaze within a mirror. See the creator. Exercise 4. Gaze at the creation which lies about the mind-body-spirit complex of each entity. See the creator. The foundation or prerequisite of these exercises is a predilection towards what may be called meditation, contemplation, or prayer. With this attitude, these exercises can be processed. Without it, the data will not sink down into the roots of the tree of mind, thus enabling and ennobling the body and touching the spirit.
For people who are not familiar with this channel or the Law of One, a mind-body-spirit complex is a person. A distortion is anything that is not the one infinite creator. It is a distortion or one-off from the one infinite creator. We are mind, body, spirit distortions of the one infinite creator. Ra speaks of many levels of the mind, and the deepest is the roots of the tree of mind. That's as deep as you can go. Let's go to another great source. Psychotherapist and meditation instructor Lawrence LeShan presents the following in his book, How to Meditate, A Guide to Self-Discovery, published in 1978. It states, essentially, meditation seems to produce a physiological state of deep relaxation, coupled with a wakeful and highly alert mental state. There tends to be a lower metabolic rate and decreases in heart and respiration rates. The pattern of physiological response to meditation is different from the pattern of response to sleep or hypnosis. The physiological state brought about by meditation appears to be the opposite one from the state brought about by anxiety or anger. Technically, meditation seems to bring out a hypometabolic state that is quite opposite to the defense alarm state described by W.B. Cannon when he analyzed the physiological state of the flight or fight reaction. Central to the response to meditation is the lower rate of metabolism, the lower rate of using oxygen and producing carbon dioxide. that these decreases are due to a lower metabolic rate rather than to a slower or shallower breathing is shown by the fact that both decrease equally and the ratio between them remains the same. This would not be true if it were due to alterations in respiration. There's also typically in meditation a slowing of the heartbeat, in one study averaging 3 beats per minute, and a decrease in the rate and volume of respiration. The lactate concentration of the blood decreases sharply during meditation, nearly 4 times as fast as it does in people resting, quietly stretched out in a safe, quiet situation. Blood lactate level is related to anxiety and tension, and the low level found in subjects during meditation is very likely related to the relaxed state of the meditators. The resistance of the skin to mild electric current in any individual has long been known to be closely related to the amount of tension and anxiety present. The more tension and anxiety, the lower of the skin resistance. In meditation, the skin resistance increases sometimes as much as 400%. The heartbeat tends to slow down. There also tend to be changes in the pattern of brain waves. The most usual report of these changes is the increase of slow alpha waves over 8 to 9 per second. In hypnosis, there is no change in the metabolic rate during sleep. The consumption of oxygen decreases appreciably only after several hours, and then this is due to a decrease in breathing rather than a change in the general rate of metabolism. Brainwave patterns during sleep are entirely different from those of meditation. In hypnosis, the brainwave pattern tends to resemble the pattern typical of whatever state of mind has been suggested to the subject. This is also true of the respiration rate, blood pressure, heart rate, and skin resistance. In hypnosis, these resemble those typically found in the suggested state. There's no pattern typical of hypnosis itself. Why does your body respond in this way during meditation? There's still a great deal we do not know, though research now underway will very likely fill some of the gaps. One factor, however, seems to be related to the basic aspect of meditation. That is a focusing on a doing of one thing at a time. The signals our body gets as to how it should be responding are simpler and more coherent during meditation than at almost any other time. In meditation, we are in a state, or moving toward it, of sending only one set of signals at a time. The effect of this on our physiology is positive, and there is a strong tendency to normalize reactions, to behave physiologically in a more relaxed and healthy manner. We meditate to find, to recover, to come back to something of ourselves we once dimly and unknowingly had and have lost without knowing what it was or where or when we lost it. We may call it access to more of our human potential, or being closer to ourselves and into reality, or to more of our capacity for love and zest and enthusiasm, or our knowledge that we are part of the universe and can never be alienated or separated from it, or our ability to see and function in reality more effectively. Diverting into the history of physics and philosophy. The view of reality we are forced to by serious meditation is the same view that physics was forced to by the impossible situation developed as a result of the Michelson-Morley experiment. The difference between the two is that the physicists were only forced to accept the new view intellectually, and could do this with relative comfort from behind a screen of mathematics. The meditator is forced to the full emotional as well as intellectual acceptance of the validity of this viewpoint, and the process may be, and often is, decidedly less comfortable. These, then, are the twin goals of meditation of the mystical path: the attainment of a second way of comprehending reality, and the increased serenity and competence in being. The fact of attaining a second view of reality, however, does not mean that the two views are then kept separate. This would lead to a greater fragmentation of personality rather than a greater coherence and organization of it. The two views are, in continued work, integrated so that each serves as background to the other. The knowledge of our differences and separateness is clarified and strengthened by the knowledge, held at the same time, of our oneness, that we are each part of each other. One psychological effect of serious meditation is to comprehend a new way of perceiving and relating to the world. On the basis of the experience of those who have achieved it, this attainment in the past too, bring a strong serenity and inner peace that remains stable even in the face of much adversity. The thrust, individuality, and vibrancy of our perception of the individual person are heightened by our perception of the oneness that we share with him, as we both shade into the whole planet, all other others, and the total universe. In the previous chapter, I raised a question of whether the meditation changes our goals in life. To the answer to this question given there, I must now add another that arises when we are working at this fusion of the two ways of perceiving. If I know that you and I are both one, that we are not separated, and that I am not only my brother's keeper, but also my brother, I will treat you as I treat myself. Further, since I know that I am a part of the total cosmos of all being, I will treat myself and therefore you as something precious. The ethical behavioral orientations that emerge naturally and originally during the practice of meditation are agreed upon by all serious students of the discipline. In all good psychotherapy and in all good meditation, there is a therapeutic factor which is rarely mentioned. It is a careful paying attention to ourselves, to all of ourselves, including those parts we have characterized as best and worst. In this orientation, we train ourselves to regard ourselves seriously and to be concerned with our total being, involving not only our best possible relationships with ourselves, but also our best possible relationship with others, which we began to realize as a need of ours, and a need that is a part of our total being. In learning to take ourselves seriously, we began to learn how important it is that we garden and cultivate that being, and therefore by necessity, the being of others. There's no endpoint to the possibilities of growth and development offered by serious discipline work with oneself, whether it be by meditation, psychotherapy, or by other route. As in all serious things, in the ability to love, in knowledge and understanding, in the ability to express ourselves, in the appreciation of beauty, or in religious awe, there is always room for more. It could be said that this author, LeShan, equated serious meditators as mystics at that time. He continues, one of the great medieval mystics, Meister Eckhart, wrote, "There is no stopping place in this life, no, nor was there ever for any man, no matter how far along his way he'd gone. This above all then, be ready at all times for the gifts of God, and always for the new ones." And I'll end this Why Meditation section with a law of one channeling that will be expanded upon later. The social memory complex Hatonn is giving some reasons to meditate and differentiates their channeling circle from some other people. Channeling Conscious Channeling, December 18th, 1973. Hatonn.
These people are already seeking. In this case, it will be but a simple matter for you to convey to them that which they need. It is, however, very important that you be able to give them what they need. For this reason, we suggest that you continue to meditate, for only in this way can you be prepared to serve them. I speak not only of the preparation to act, as does this instrument, as a vocal channel, but also a preparation of your own thinking, so that you will know the truth with no doubt or hesitation in speaking it. It is within you, my friends, and we will reawaken it within you, for your slumber is but very, very light. It is only necessary that you avail yourself to us through meditation.
So a quick summary of why one should meditate. 1. To know love. 2. To know the Creator and the creation. 3. To know the Creator within you. 4. To know the Creator within others. 5. To know the Creator you are within. 6. To obtain a new view of reality. 7. To realize that all is one. 8. To acquire truth. 9. To accomplish your goals. 10. To improve the health of your mind-body-spirit complex. What is meditation? The Law of One, the raw material on meditation, in her book Living the Law of One, 101. The Choice, which was written after the final raw material book was provided, Carla states the following regarding meditation.
Meditation is a technique of spiritual seeking is recommended by most religions and spiritual traditions. It is pervasive in the literature of spiritual seeking. It is so popular that it has become a part of our pop culture. As such, the meaning of the word has been much diminished by overuse. Some people will use the term without knowing anything about it, so it has become almost a joke. And it is very confusing for a new player to be told to meditate. How? What does one do? My answer to these questions is simple. Practice the presence of the one creator. I think the phrase contains implicit guidance by pointing the player in a sound direction. In addition, the Confederation often speaks of practicing the presence of the one.
And Carla goes on to describe examples of two men in her book in chapter 10, Working in Consciousness. In his book Silent Music, The Science of Meditation, William Johnston, 1974 to 1979, also discusses and gives some context on using the word meditation. In his preface, he states, "This book, then, is about meditation. Let me say, however, that the choice of this word has caused me some anguish. I use it in a widest possible sense to include this discursive thinking and reasoning about ultimate matters, as well as what Christians called contemplation, and Hindus call samadhi, and Buddhists called Zen. In it, I also include mysticism, which, in my opinion, is no more than a very deep form of meditation. It was difficult to find an all-embracing word that would include these disparate things, and it seemed to me that meditation was the best. For me, meditation, in the last analysis, is the search for wisdom, or the relinquishing of wisdom when it has been found. As such, it is a word and a practice that us all religionists, scientists, businessmen, and statesmen can claim that they are looking for and feel the need of wisdom, and how beautiful and attractive this lady is. I am reminded of the Hebrew sage who loved her passionately in saying, "I love her and saw her from my youth, and I desire to take her for my bride, and I became enamored of her beauty." Wisdom 8:2. In LeShan's book, How to Meditate, he states, "Much of the work of any form of meditation is in learning to do one thing at a time." Not quite what we are taught these days, right? Right? Here is channeling on meditation from the Law of One Entities. Channeling, Conscious Channeling, January 12, 1974. Hatonn.
I am going to instruct the people of your planet on the use of love. This will be done in an unusual way, but please bear with me. We have found that it is necessary to do things in unusual ways, as far as you are concerned. It is necessary to teach to you a way of thinking that is not common to the people of your planet, if you are to rapidly gain understanding of the concepts that are of utmost importance in your present progression. There are 3 ways to achieve a knowledge of love. The first way is to relax and let your mind become at rest. This is the method of meditation. If this is done on a daily basis, then it is not possible to shut out the love that is ever present. You will become aware of the true creation and its meaning. It is therefore suggested by those of us of the Confederation of Planets in His service that you employ the first method. Meditation, my friends, will allow you to decide to what extent you may employ the other 2 methods, for it is sometimes impractical to attempt to literally follow these 2 suggestions, in that those whom you attempt to serve will not understand. It is, however, recommended that you keep each of these methods in mind, for they are all important.
Channeling Conscious Channeling, January 14th, 1974. Hatonn.
Meditation, my friends, is a very, very effective tool if you are to accomplish anything. But first you must understand what we mean by meditation. We have stated that it is necessary that you clear your mind of thoughts. This is not always too easy to do, but it can be accomplished. There are many techniques that may aid you in doing this. Various sounds are sometimes used, and things to concentrate on are sometimes used, so that a single thought is allowed to remain. And then from the single thought, no thoughts occur. It is necessary that if you are to be totally relaxed in meditation, you totally relax. It is, however, necessary that you do not go from this relaxed state to a state of sleep, for this defeats the purpose. It is therefore recommended that you remain in an erect sitting position. This, for the most part, eliminates a great deal of tendency to sleep.
Channeling Conscious Channeling. May 8th, 1974. Hatonn, Carla Channeling.
Hatonn, I am Hatonn. I greet you, my friends, in the love and the light of our infinite Creator. I am most pleased to be speaking with you again today. My friends, I wish to greet each of you and to give you our comfort insofar as we may do this. We are aware that there are continuing questions upon your minds and that there are questions that you would like to ask. We will attempt to answer some of these. First, we would like to speak of the technique for dealing with the physical illusion, which is called meditation. We have spoken of this many times, and yet there is always another facet. As I was saying, there is always another facet to be explored which sheds light in a new way upon a clouded area of your seeking. Meditation, my friends, is a much more basic and much more general technique than you may think. It is not part of a daily life, my friends. It is the beginning of a completely new life. It is a replacement. The two types of life, that not in meditation and that in meditation, are two completely different vibrations. The reason for this is that, one, the normal physical existence dwells and deals completely within the illusion. The meditation is an attempt to contact your original identity, the consciousness of the all. This consciousness is a much different reality, a transcendent reality to that of the illusion. We might even call it the reality were it not for the fact that we know that there are transcendent states to any reality until such time as we are truly aware of unity with all that there is. This is a higher state than we have yet achieved, and we too are seeking towards it.
I now present for you another source that I feel also brings a higher truth. That's Rudolf Steiner, who is very WOT or way out there. I very much resonate with his information on meditation. From his work, The Mystery of the Trinity, Part 2, The Mission of the Spirit. GA 214, 20th August 1922, Oxford. Meditation, the path to higher knowledge.
No matter how long we think about it, we cannot find out how things stand with thinking, for thinking remains always stuck in the same place. We merely spin, so to speak, around the axis we have already built for ourselves. We must accomplish something with our thinking. With our thinking, we must carry out what I described as meditation in my book, Knowledge of the Higher Worlds and Its Attainment. We should not think mystically about meditation, but then neither should we think of it lightly. It must be completely clear what meditation is in the modern sense. It also requires patience and inner energy of soul. Above all, there is something else that belongs to meditation, something that no one can ever give to another human being: the ability to promise oneself something and then keep that promise. When we begin to meditate, we begin to perform the only really fully free act in human life. We always have the tendency toward freedom within us. We have also attained a good measure of freedom. However, if we stop to think about it, we will find we are dependent upon our heredity, our education, and our present life situation. To what extent are we in a position to suddenly leave behind all we have acquired through heredity, education, and life? We would be confronted with nothingness were we to suddenly leave that all behind. Although we may have decided to meditate mornings and evenings in order gradually to learn to see into the spiritual world, we can, in fact, on any given day, leave this undone. There is nothing to prohibit this. And experience teaches us that most people who approach the meditative life, even those with the best intentions, soon leave it again. In this, we are completely free. Meditation is an essentially free act. If we are able to remain true to ourselves despite this freedom, if we promise ourselves, not another but ourselves, that we will remain faithful to this meditation, then that is of itself an enormous power in the soul.
And since Steiner mentioned his book, Knowledge of the Higher Worlds and Its Attainment, I pulled it out to share the definition given there. It reads,
"The life in the soul of thought, which gradually widens into a life in spiritual being, is called by gnosis, and by spiritual science, meditation, contemplative reflection. This meditation is the means to supersensible knowledge.
He later states,
When by means of meditation, a man rises to union with the Spirit, he brings to life the eternal in him, which is limited neither by birth nor death. The existence of this eternal being can only be doubted by those who have not themselves experienced it. Thus, meditation is the way which also leads man to the knowledge, to the contemplation of his eternal, indestructible, essential being. And it is only through meditation that man can attain such knowledge.
and I can't leave Alice Bailey out. In her book, Esoteric Healing, her definition reads,
Meditation is a technique of the mind which eventually produces correct, unimpeded relationship. This is another name for alignment. It is therefore the establishment of a direct channel, not only between the one source, the monad, and its expression, the purified and controlled personality, but also between the 7 centers in the human etheric vehicle.
Next, I found in an old meditation VHS tape, Meditation Made Easy, Part 1 featuring Lynn Sparrow and Edgar Cacye video presentation, copyright 1988. The definition presented is,
Meditation is the practice of learning how to do a better job of what we are feeding into our thoughts day by day. And it's said that we're really meditating all the time through the things that we choose to dwell on.
We'll hear more from this tape in the next video. She also later states that prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening to God. I think that's an awesome perspective. And lastly, from the book A Practical Guide to Meditation and Prayer, J. Douglas Bottorff, copyright 2000. What is meditation? What exactly is meditation? The answer you get will depend on whom you ask. Ask the Eastern yogi and you may be told that it is a discipline to put you in touch with the essence of all life. Ask a Western holistic doctor and he or she may tell you it is deep physical and mental relaxation. Ask a fundamentalist Christian and you may be told that it is a heathen practice to be avoided at all cost. Ask certain others and they may describe meditation as a dreamy state that usually precedes sleep and is often experienced in church. The word meditation is a general term that can be and is used to describe a variety of mental and spiritual exercises. Of the several definitions found in the dictionary for the word meditate, the two that best suit our purposes here are to focus one's thoughts and to engage in contemplation or reflection. And yet the results we see in meditation transcend both focalization of thought and contemplation, for we seek to penetrate a realm beyond these usual functions of mind. In the writings of Unity School of Christianity, the state of consciousness required to enter this realm usually identified as the silence. Charles Fillmore called the silence a state of consciousness entered into for the purpose of putting man in touch with divine mind so that the soul may listen to the still small voice. Through the superconscious level of mind, you experience the deeper part of yourself that is directly connected with the infinite. From this vantage point, you become less a thinker and more a beholder. The continual chatter of the thinking mind is silenced, giving way to the rejuvenating spring of pure, unadulterated life. In biblical terms, this experience could be referred to as the baptism of the Holy Spirit, though it may not be as dramatic as the baptism received by the disciples on the day of Pentecost, Acts 2, 1-4. This phrase is certainly appropriate when we consider the meaning of these familiar words. Baptism indicates an immersion or cleansing. The word holy derived from the Old English word halig, which is akin to the Old English word hal, meaning whole. The baptism of the Holy Spirit, then, can be called the immersion or the merging of individual mind with universal mind, and the realization of the wholeness and omnipresence of the Spirit. Initially, the individual experiences an inner transcendence of which prior to the experience, he or she was totally unaware, where before there may have been a sense of separation from God and other expressions of life, now all is seen as one. As the experience deepens through further exploration, the individual centers more of his or her patterns of thought in this transcendent realm, and the consciousness is raised. Having established that your purpose in life is to express all the attributes of God in everything you do, it is important for you to know what God's attributes are. I've already listed a few, but as far as you are concerned, these may appear just words on paper. You may want to silence your own preconceptions of these words and have a first-hand experience with God. So the purpose of meditation is simply this. Meditation is the process that brings you into direct contact with attributes of God. You can never understand your spiritual purpose unless you see for yourself what lies beyond the veil of surface level thoughts. As you penetrate this veil, you will know your purpose, not because you read about it and believe it, but because you have seen for yourself. English philosopher and economist John Stuart Mill said, "There are many truths of which the full meaning cannot be realized until personal experience has brought it home." This is certainly true of the truth revealed in quiet meditation. People often get into the study of truth and the practice of meditation as a means of solving temporal problems. Nothing less than a direct experience with the qualities of pure being will provide you with the incentive and enthusiasm necessary to continuously expand your spiritual horizons. To know God for the sake of knowing God, you have to know why you seek what you seek. Meditation tunes you into what we might call a life signal being sent to you from the infinite. This is an important concept to consider because it frees you from the thought that you have to get God's attention before he will respond. The communication lines are already open. You already have God's attention and in fact are the manifestation of God mind concentrated in the place where you are. All you have to do is learn to become sensitive to the broadcast, to tune in to an impulse that has been within you all along. This is especially important if you have believed your relationship with God has been damaged or severed as the result of sin. While sin, in whatever way you define it, can cause a sense of separation, nothing can separate you from God. God cannot behold you as a sinner, nor have any sense of condemnation for you whatsoever. However, because there is a difference in your concept of the world and God's reality, you may believe you are condemned. And practice of meditation will gradually lift you out of this world of misconception and into God's truth. In God's truth, you are without sin. Perhaps these words will help you begin to break any bonds your concept of sin may have you in. I am now free from all sin and punishment. In God's perfect love, I am free to begin anew to express the unlimited beauty of my spirit. Thank you, God. So to summarize what is meditation, I reiterate the following. 1. Simple. Practice the presence of the one Creator. 2. The search for wisdom, or the relinquishing of wisdom when it has been found. 3. Much of the work of any form of meditation is in learning to do one thing at a time. 4. You will become aware of the true creation and its meaning, love. 5. You clear your mind of thoughts. 6. To contact your original identity, the consciousness of the all. 7. Perform the only really fully free act in human life. 8. The way which also leads man to the knowledge, to the contemplation of his eternal, indestructible, essential being. And it is only through meditation that man can attain such knowledge. 9. To focus one's thoughts to engage in contemplation or reflection. And 10. To get in touch with the divine mind. Who should meditate? We'll return to the earlier law of one channeling about who should be meditating, channeling conscious channeling. December 18th, 1973. Hatonn.
These people are already seeking. In this case, it will be but a simple matter for you to convey to them that which they need. It is, however, very important that you be able to give them what they need. For this reason, we suggest that you continue to meditate, for only in this way can you be prepared to serve them. I speak not only of the preparation to act as does this instrument, as a vocal channel, but also a preparation of your own thinking so that you will know the truth with no doubt or hesitation in speaking it. It is within you, my friends, and we will reawaken it within you, for your slumber is but very, very light. It is only necessary that you avail yourself to us through meditation. Your scientists should realize that there is a purpose to the creation that far surpasses what they suspect. They should avail themselves to the purpose in meditation. Then they would find that they would begin to understand the plan, and thereby they would be able to use their knowledge to build within the plan, not as they do now with no heed at all to the truth, and with plans of their own which have no relationship to truth. Your governments make the same error. They do not work within the plan, they are not aware of the plan, they attempt to make law, but their laws do not work. They appear to have some value, but very shortly much strife is generated, and the result is war. They do not understand that the reason for this strife is that they have ignored the natural plan of creation, the natural order of things, and the law of the Creator that devised this. Your leaders should avail yourself in meditation to truth as we do. We are aware that at this particular time, it is impossible for your scientists and your leaders to do such a thing, for they are in the vast depths of slumber and cannot at this time be awakened for the most part. There are only a few, many too few, who are very lightly slumbering. It will be necessary, therefore, to concern yourself with those whom you contact in any and all walks of life, the ones who are lightly slumbering, the ones who will seek on their own after they have been made aware of the possibility of seeking.
LeShan states, serious meditation is hard work, often frustrating and yet deeply satisfying, and the oldest and newest great adventure for man. I hope it will mean as much to you as it has for me. And I second that emotion. My take, everyone should meditate, period. Meditation is what is meant when people say, you need to go within yourself, do the inner work. It's shutting off your 5 senses, and you can do it in many ways, including not shutting off any of the 5 senses. Out of 8+ billion people, there are likely 8+ billion ways to meditate, though I can get very deep in meditation at home. I also do pretty well on airplanes and boats. I was speaking to a buddy about meditation, and he said he's tried, but he cannot meditate. I asked him how he relaxes his mind. He said he takes long walks in a big park or walking trail near his home in Southern California, and sometimes he doesn't remember walking parts of the trail. He said he could walk for 2 hours and just get lost in nature scenery. I said that's meditation. He's a master meditator and didn't know it. You could be too. Thanks for staying until the end. Please join us for the next video on the when, where, and how to meditate. Thanks for joining us on this fundamental journey of ascension. Please meditate.